Ladies and gentlemen, if I can have your attention, please. Would you please rise for the playing of the hymn performed by Stella Cottrell, and then please remain standing as Mallory Hager asks our blessing this morning.
Please bow your heads. Lord, we are so thankful for this wonderful weekend you have allowed us to experience. We thank you for the opportunity that you have presented to our 2012 homecoming court. Thank you for the award recipients and all of their contributions to Florida State and our community. Please bless our football team, as well as Duke University, as we compete in today's football game. And please bless this food that we have just received. Watch over everyone as they take part in their game day experience. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Mallory, thank you. You may be seated. Stella, thank you. And Stella, by the way, congratulations on your torch award this week. Well done. I can think of no one who embodies the mores traditions of customs, character, and tradition. A very pleasant good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the 300,000 FSU alumni around the world, welcome to Alumni Hall in this most hallowed morning in the history of our university. Before we get to the awards, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge some folks who are not part of the formal program, but whom I know you would like to welcome, beginning with our first family. Eric and Molly Barron are with us this morning, and thank you very much. And by the way, yesterday was President Barron's birthday, so happy birthday, Mr. President. And I'm also glad to see at the President's table great friends of Florida State University, and I want to not only welcome them, but thank them for their extraordinary generosity for Florida State University. Please help me thank Al and Judy Dunlap. Thank you for being here this morning. When you walked in this morning, you walked down that hallway and passed the portrait of Governor Ruben Askew that hung in the Florida Capitol for the 8 years that he served as Florida's chief executive. The governor will proudly tell you that he gets up for only one breakfast event a year, and it is this event. And so we are so very thankful to have Florida State University's alumnus of the 20th century and his lovely bride, Donna Lou, Governor Reuben Askew, and his wife, Donna Lou Askew. Thank you for being here. The Seminole Tribe has once again sent to Tallahassee, Florida, their extraordinary royalty that will be part of our halftime ceremony. We would like them to stand and thank them for being here and how much we appreciate the great tradition that we share. The Seminole Tribe. And speaking of royalty, last night at Powwow we crowned a new, or at least we selected a new chief and princess. They'll be crowned tonight. And we want to introduce them this morning, the first public appearance as chief and princess. Your 2012 homecoming princess is a senior from Jacksonville majoring in communication science and disorders. Her name is Megan Raisman. Megan, would you please stand so we can welcome and congratulate you. Our chief is also a senior. He's from Sunrise, Florida, majoring in finance and accounting, and his name is Carl Sharp. Carl, would you please stand? Or we'll see Carl at halftime. Congratulations. Congratulations to the entire court. The entire court is here this morning with their parents. You represent FSU so very well, and we're very proud of you, and we thank you for being part of the experience. For several years now, the Homecoming Committee has chosen a beloved faculty or staff member to serve as the faculty staff parade grand marshal, and I think it's the first time this gentleman has been able to enjoy any parade because he's usually working them. He's about ready to retire from the Florida State University Police Department, so we're glad that he could be honored in this way. His name is Sergeant Mark Edenfield, was our faculty staff grand marshal. Today's grads made good. We'll have to make a special thank you for our President Emeritus, who wrote nomination letters on behalf of each of them. And so we're very proud that he could be with us this morning, and I wore the bow tie just for him. It is President Emeritus Sandy Dalibert, his wife Patsy Palmer, with us today. So as you can see, the heart and soul of Florida State University is with us this morning. I'm so proud that university trustees Hillis and Stokes are with us. There are vice presidents and academic deans and members of the FSU Alumni Association National Board of Directors, past and present. Thank you for sharing this special morning with us. And now to the recognitions. To present the Bernard F. Sliger Award for Service, please welcome the chair-elect of the FSU Alumni Association's National Board of Directors from the class of 1965, Gordon Sprague.
Good morning. In 1993, the FSU Alumni Association established the Bernie F. Sliger Award for Service, named for the 11th president of the university in its single highest honor accorded by the association. The Sliger Award was created to recognize a member of the university community who has, through their efforts, made a major contribution towards fulfillment of the mission of the university. I'd like to ask that any of the previous recipients of the award who are in attendance please stand to be recognized. This year's recipient of the Sliger Award is not a Floridian by birth. He came to FSU by the Bluegrass State of Kentucky, armed with a PhD and a love of athletics. His impact on FSU began in the classrooms at the College of Business, soon reached to every corner of the campus as an administrator, and now literally reaches around the world. I could tell you more, but I thought it would be more impactful if I showed you, but they didn't give me a switch.
Jim Pitts has served Florida State for over 44 years. a span that's included 8 university presidents. But it was his relationship with President Bernie Sliger that set in motion the majority of good works that have unfolded under his leadership. As a College of Business professor, it was during one of Pitts' 3 stints as faculty senate president that Sliger asked him to join the university administration. As assistant to the president, Pitt's first assignment was overseeing athletics, Seminole Boosters, the Alumni Association, and Foundation, which eventually led to a job as FSU's first ever vice president for university advancement. While supervising the foundation, Pitts helped land 7 eminent scholarship chairs and later was put in charge of the most ambitious project in FSU history, the University Center. Pitts served as chairman of the building committee and was instrumental in pulling together every aspect of the project, especially the bond funding. It was another special assignment that landed Pitts his current role at FSU. When Sliger wanted to buy property in London for FSU's international program, he dispatched Jim Pitts, who eventually formed a new direct support organization to complete the purchase. Later, Pitts would lead the purchase of a campus in Valencia, Spain. In 1995, Pitts became Director of International Programs, expanding the offerings from 3 broad curriculums for undergraduates to over 45 programs in more than 18 countries. Today, FSU's International Programs is considered a model for higher education. Jim Pitts' visionary leadership has left an indelible mark on FSU, not unlike the man for whom he is honored today with the Bernard F. Sliger Award for Service.
Thank you. When I received notice that I was going to be this year's recipient, I looked at the list of former recipients and felt very humbled and honored to join their distinguished ranks. I want to acknowledge that I have 2 of my 3 children who are all alums of FSU here today. Justin, who is from Tallahassee, and John, who's here from Tampa. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for my wife, Martha. You see, some 45 years ago, as a young PhD candidate, I had visited 4 universities and received 4 job offers and made a decision to go to another institution. And I called to accept their offer, and the gentleman who had made me the offer had just left for the day. So I said, well, I'll call back tomorrow. Well, I went home and told my wife that we'd been married less than a year. I told her the decision I'd made, and those of you that know us know that we're people of faith. So she looked at me and she said, have you prayed about that? Well, that wasn't exactly the ringing endorsement that I wanted. So that night we prayed, and then we had a rather lengthy husband and wife discussion. The next morning I picked up the phone and called Florida State and accepted the job offer from Florida State, called the other 3 institutions and said, I'm going to Florida State. Well, so I really would not be standing here today if it was not for her. This award means a great deal to me because Bernie Sliger impacted my career more than any other individual. Several of the events have been alluded to in the film. I would just tell you that some 30 years ago I got introduced to the SACS accreditation organization when he asked me to direct the university's self-study. And I know that several of you are going through that again now. Then a few years later, as we were having our regular meetings with the Faculty Senate Steering Committee, Bernie asked me to stay behind after the meeting was over, and he says, "Jim, I'm being harassed by this young Andy Miller, who says that we need to do something to improve the image of our football stadium and make better utilization of the land that's there." Well, a few minutes later, he asked me to chair the feasibility committee for what to do with the stadium, and several of you out here were on that committee, and that led eventually to my chairing the building committee. Well, I thought that was enough, but then a year later, I'm at the Metro Conference basketball tournament, which was being held in Louisville, which was my hometown. And I've just taken my seat in the stands, and I look up, and Bernie's walking up the stands, and he stops and he says, "Jim, I want you to come down and sit at the press table with me for the first few minutes of the game." And so I got up and went down and sat down. Well, the first time out, he looks over at me and he says, "You know, you and the Faculty Senate Steering Committee have been so good at pointing out issues and problems with the university. I think you need to come and join my administration and address some of those issues." Well, what are you going to say? I said, "Well, what are you thinking about?" He says, "Well, I want you to be assistant to the president for oversight." Well, I'd never heard of such a position. Well, that was the beginning of a tenure in his office, which eventually led to the vice president for advancement. During that tenure, I was in my office one day and I got the phone call, and this will show you the character of Bernie Sliger. I got a phone call from the football recruiting office, and they said, "Jim, we have a young recruit coming in who's the National Defensive Player of the Year and the National Scholar Athlete of the Year. And we want you to find out if President Sliger would be willing to shoot around the pool with him, because we heard he loves to shoot pool." Well, I said, "I don't know, but I'll go ask." Well, I asked Bernie, and he said, "He's the National Scholar Athlete of the Year?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Have him at the president's house at 9:30 in the morning." So I pick up the recruit, take him to the president's house, and Bernie says, "Well, what's his next appointment?" I said, "Well, it has to be at the athletic center for lunch at noon." He says, "Pick him up at 11:45. Well, I did, and when I picked him up, the young man came out to the car and he says, "You know, this is my last official visit. At 3 of the visits, I didn't get to meet the president. At 2, I got to shake his hand. I've just shot pool with your president for over 2 hours. I'm coming to Florida State." Well, needless to say, that young man was Derek Brooks, who became an All-American and an All-Pro, and later an FSU trustee. I never could get from either Bernie or Derek who won the pool match. And then finally, the last event that had a major role in my career was I got a call from Bernie, and he said, "Jim, I need to see you." So I went into his office, and he said, "I'm tired of being jerked around by London landlords. I want you to go to London and buy us a campus." Well, now, that was not on my radar screen. So after I caught my breath, I said, "Bernie, I'll be happy to do what you want me to do, but you need to know I'm going to have to get a passport first." So, needless to say, I've been involved with international programs, and as a result of that trip, I saw the importance of students of the 21st century coming to an understanding of other cultures and other peoples and other ways of thinking. So thank you so much.
think Bernie is looking down smiling today, indeed. I hope you noticed the new Grads Made Good Wall of Honor on your way in this morning. That is new, and so too is the new partnership between the Alumni Association and the Student Leadership Omicron Delta Kappa. The Grads Made Good Award at this homecoming breakfast has been given by ODK since 1974, but today and moving forward, the award is jointly presented, and I'm grateful to the leadership of ODK for allowing the Alumni Association to be a full-fledged partner of this extraordinary recognition program. Now, one aspect that will not change is that the immediate past president of ODK enjoys the honor of introducing the recipients. So please welcome from the Florida State University class of 2012 and last year's homecoming princess, Megan Thompson.
One 111 graduates of Florida State University have been recognized by Grads Made Good, honoring alumni who have made a significant difference through outstanding success in their chosen fields. As Scott said, the Florida State Circle of Omicron Delta Kappa, which originated its program in 1974, is proud to join forces this fall with FSU Alumni Association to co-present Grads Made Good. I'd like to begin by asking previous recipients of the award to please stand and be recognized. Our first Grad Made Good has been flying high ever since his college days at FSU when he joined the FSU Circus. Upon graduation, he soared from circus student to Air Force captain. Earning his wings helped Senator Bob Johnson launch a stellar career that's seen success as a lawyer, a legislator, and a strong Florida State advocate. So strong, he's helped secure two of the university's most prized possessions, the Ringling Museum and the National High Magnetic Field Laboratory.
He's practiced law in Florida for nearly half a century while serving multiple terms in the Florida House of Representatives and State Senate. Along the way, he's been devoted to his local Sarasota community and to his alma mater, and in fact helped forge a strategic alliance that benefits both through the marriage of the John and Mabel Ringling Museum of Art and FSU. The alignment of the Ringling with FSU secured the museum's grounds restoration and future, and provided FSU with a crown jewel for its portfolio, one of the largest museum university complexes in the nation, and the extraordinary collection of art amassed by the late circus tycoon John Ringling. Senator Johnson didn't limit his Florida State impact to the arts. As a state senator, he was a key player in helping FSU and the state of Florida land the National High Magnetic Field Laboratory. More than 2 decades later, the Mag Lab remains a fixture at FSU and at the forefront of our scientific world as the only facility of its kind in the U.S. The foundation for Johnson's illustrious career was laid at FSU, where he earned a degree in political science, then took flight in the Air Force and received Distinguished Unit Awards from Presidents Eisenhower and Kennedy. Later in life, he was appointed by President Ronald Reagan to the National Council of the Arts, where he served from 1985 through 1993. He's been inducted into Omicron Delta Kappa, Gold Key, and the Florida State University Hall of Fame, and is also a Circle of Gold member and a recipient of the Westcott Medal of Lifetime Service Award. Today, we add another feather to the Florida State cap of an individual who moved from the big top to the big stage. Please congratulate Senator Bob Johnson, FSU class of 1958 and a 2012 Grad Made Good.
Good morning. A number of people in this room would say it's improbable and impossible for me to be standing here and that I'm probably an imposter. I am very honored to stand here as a member of ODK and as a graduate of Florida State University and an alum. In March 1952, I was a junior at Plant High School in Tampa when my mother died. My father made me quit high school that day and go to work to support my siblings. 3 months later, I found myself on Guam, and I learned that the territorial high school only needed 14 credits to graduate, so I told them I was a senior and I got a piece of paper. And 3 months later, they called me and said, you have to come back to school another year, and I said, I've already been admitted to 4 universities. So I arrived a year later at Florida State on a Greyhound bus. I took a taxi to West Hall for $1, and everything I owned was in one box. And I was there about 2 weeks, and I learned there was something called Rush. I didn't even know how to spell fraternity, but Sigma Chi wanted my roommate, whose father owned a Cadillac agency. And I thought they either believed I was a Guamanian novelty or, you know, necessary baggage. But anyway, Florida State gave me a great education, and Sigma Chi made me, I believe, a gentleman. They taught me brotherhood and manners and decorum and loyalty, how to study, and how to be a person, a human being, which I had learned very little of in my previous 20 years. I had great mentors. My roommates were Jim Jonas and Don Alford, and don't blame them for what you see today. I had other great mentors, Dr. Milton Carruthers, who was Dean of the Graduate School, and Mrs. Carruthers. And I would never forget Mama and Papa Jonas. Mama Jonas always made sure I had a birthday cake. And they were lovely, wonderful people, such great people that always told me that I could do something with my life. Well, 4 years later, I left on a Greyhound bus to go to Spokane, Washington, to my duty station. And I had 2 boxes. One box had my clothes, and one box had my degree, and Gold Key, and ODK, and Who's Who, and the University Hall of Fame, which I was very proud to have achieved. After the Air Force, I went to the University of Florida College of Law because we did not have a law school here. And then I went on down to Sarasota. When I was in the Air Force, the general called me in several times and tried to get me to be a regular officer. And he says, why do you not want to be a regular officer in the Air Force? And I said, General, you stand in line for your shots, for your pay, for your assignments, and I'm going back to Florida and be a senator, and I'm not going to stand in line for anybody. I have to say that I'm very honored that my distinguished great friend, Governor Askew, sits here today. He and I were elected the same day. He was the governor, and I was a Republican member of the House, but we did collaborate together. And he appointed me to 3 state commissions, including the Commission to Reform Education. But I think he was absolutely the best governor that I ever served with. I've had an extremely great and fortunate run of my life. I've been married to Pat, my wife, for 43 years. I have 4 children, none of who ever had drugs or alcohol or any kind of abuse. And the most important thing is they don't call home for money. But I want to tell you that I especially had a great run with Stanley Marshall during turbulent years. Bernie Schlager, who I took to France with me on an educational and artistic exchange, and I don't want to tell those stories. and my great friend Sandy DeAlembert, who was my first chairman in the legislature in the Judiciary Committee. And Sandy has been just a wonderful person. But I think we've had great presidents, but I'm really particularly proud to have Eric Barron be our president today. I really have been most fortunate to not only be able to be in the legislature and help Florida State in some advancement, but to raise a little bit of private money. I don't even recall how many millions, but it's probably close to 12 or 20. But anyway, it's been a great run. I appreciate it. And I'll tell you, when I die and I go down to that river and cross over, it's going to flow in garnet and gold. And St. Peter's going to say, "Go Noles." Because, and one last thing is, oft times when I watch our athletics, I have to strongly remind myself that our primary purpose is to be an international, outstanding educational institution of great acclaim. Thank you.
Portraits presented to each grad made good is another tradition that dates back to 1974. Our recipients will receive the originals, and likeness is reproduced on the grad made good wall in honor here at the Alumni Association. Our next grad made good has made a living placing service above self. After all, that is the official motto of the Rotary Association. It's recognized for its world's very first volunteer service organization. You'll recognize it as Rotary International, and for his efforts leading Rotarians around the world through his role in the Rotary Foundation, we recognize a member of our Florida State family, John Osterland.
John Osterland earned a Master of Science in History while at FSU. Now he directs an organization that is helping make history. The mission of the Rotary Foundation is to enable Rotarians to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. And that's been John's primary mission since becoming General Manager and Chief Development Officer of the Rotary Foundation in 2003. The Rotary Foundation is one of the largest charitable organizations in the U.S. for fundraising and international grant making, and Osterland oversees the operations of 4 divisions: Polio Plus, Fund Development, Future Vision Pilot Operations, and Foundation Programs. He's been a member of the Rotary staff for approximately 20 years and has devoted much of his career to Rotary's efforts to eliminate polio worldwide. But his days of placing service above self extend much earlier, to his time as a student when he received a Rotary Club ambassadorial scholarship and studied internationally at the University of Stockholm. Early in his career, Osterland served on the faculty at Broward Community College before becoming Chief of Staff for Florida State Senator Tom McPherson. Now he oversees a staff of 160 at the Rotary Foundation, part of the larger Rotary International that features 34,000 clubs and 1.2 million members worldwide. Today, he joins a much smaller but just as proud fraternity as one of FSU's distinguished alumni. Please congratulate John Osterland, FSU class of 1990 and a 2012 grad made good.
Thank you, Megan. Such a generous introduction. My goodness. I only wish my mother-in-law had been here to hear that. Ben, you'll have to tell Grandma about that. I'm truly humbled to be amongst you this morning. As a student here at FSU, I never once thought that I would receive such an honor. My time here at Florida State University in the late 1980s was a very special time in my life. I had just returned from spending a year of graduate study at the University of Stockholm on a Rotary Foundation ambassadorial scholarship. Many of the professors I had within the history department made a lasting impression on me. Among them are Dr. Rogers, Dr. Horward, and a true mentor and friend all these years, Dr. Richard Bartlett. From all of them, I learned the importance of keeping your word, or integrity. Throughout my tenure with the Rotary Foundation, I have had to make numerous challenging decisions. My time at FSU has enabled me to consistently be a nonprofit leader with integrity. Rotary is on the verge of eradicating only the second disease in human history. We're this close, ladies and gentlemen, to a polio-free world. Rotary's resolve to do this is extraordinary. Over the past 25 years, Rotarians have contributed more than $1 billion toward this end. And I can tell you that as a student here at FSU, I never once imagined I would be intimately involved in fighting polio. It has been unbelievably rewarding, both personally and professionally, and I want to commend Rotary for its dogged determination. Last summer, while vacationing here in Florida, I was able to bring my wife and 2 of our 3 children to FSU for the first time. The most memorable part of the trip was playing Frisbee with my son Peter, my daughter Abigail, on Landis Green one night after dinner. Our son Ben was on a teen mission trip in New Orleans at the time, which is why I'm so pleased that he's here with me today. I greatly value my association with this great university. FSU is clearly one of my preferred charities, and throughout my life, to the extent possible, I will try to give back to FSU all that it has given me. I want to thank President Emeritus Sandy Davenport for nominating me for this award. Sandy was recognized in 2011 with the Rotary Foundation's Alumni Service to Humanity Award, and I had the great privilege of introducing him at one of the functions at Rotary International's convention that year in New Orleans. Ben and I look forward to the remainder of this homecoming weekend. I wish to thank the Alumni Association, Scott, and ODK, Megan, for your tremendous hospitality. Again, I am humbled by this recognition, and I wish to thank you all. Thank you so much.
Congratulations to our grads made good, and Megan, thank you very much. Another tradition at the homecoming breakfast is Garnet and Gold Key's presentation of the Ross Oglesby Award. For that honor, please welcome the president of Garnet and Gold Key, Gerald Law.
Good morning, everyone. The Ross Oglesby Award originated in 1973 and each year goes to a FSU faculty or staff member who has for 10 years or more exemplified the highest order of integrity, service, and commitment to students and the university. At this time, could any past recipients in the room please stand and be recognized? The professor who will be receiving the Ross Oglesby Award is one that is well known to students at FSU. Her nominator described her as always willing to help and willing to do whatever it is possible to further the goals and dreams of any students. She has held numerous positions within the university, but all of them have been for the betterment, development, and growth of our students. Dr. Linda Mahler has enjoyed a long career working with students. She first came to FSU from Ohio in 1968 to pursue a master's degree in counseling and human systems, which she completed in 1970. After a 2-year hiatus, during which she worked for the State University of New York in Farmingdale, she returned to FSU to continue her education, completing her PhD in 1977. Dr. Mahler joined the FSU staff in 1974 and has held a number of positions in both student affairs and academic affairs. All, in one way or another, have focused on helping students develop successful educational plans. I think it is safe to say that she bleeds garnet and gold. Dr. Linda Mahler, congratulations on this award. Thank you for your service. We wish you all the best for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2012 recipient of the Ross Oglesby Award, Dr. Linda Mahler.
I don't think anyone could be more surprised than I am to receive this. This is a really big deal. I've been at FSU for 38 years now, and I think I've always thought of myself as a worker bee. There are a lot of us out there, but every day I come to work fortunate that I get to work with the students at FSU. It has been my pleasure, it has been my honor, and now it's my amazement that somebody has recognized this. And I'm very happy to accept this on behalf of all of the worker bees at FSU. And thank you, Garnet and Gold. Other people have acknowledged their family. My daughter, Sarah, also is working at FSU. To give you an example of how our family feels about FSU, both she and my son stopped at our offices on the way home from the hospital when we had her, so she has been part of the FSU family for a long time. Again, thank you, Garnet and Gold, and thank everyone who's here.
Another great partnership enjoyed by the Alumni Association is one with the Friends of the Library. For this year's presentation of the Alumni Award for Distinguished Writing, please welcome Fred Stanley.
Representing the Friends of the Library, let me acknowledge that Table 6 is replete with other representatives from the Friends, and I'd like to call your attention to at least 2 of them. Dean of the Libraries, Julie Zimmerman, and President of the Friends, Professor Emeritus Wayne Wiegand. I was privileged to serve as chair of the English department from 1973 until 1982, and during the last 4 years that I was chair, the department initiated a PhD program in creative writing. One of our earliest candidates in 1979 was David Bottoms, then a high school teacher of English in Georgia and a writer of poetry, having just finished his first book of poems, which won the prestigious Walt Whitman Award as selected by another great American poet, Robert Penn Warren. 3 years later, in 1982, David completed our first doctorate in creative writing and began his career at Georgia State University. Now, 30 years later, after his 9 volumes of poetry and 2 novels, plus numerous fellowships, honors, and prizes, including Guggenheim and National Endowment of the Humanities, the Friends of the Library and the FSU Alumni Association are proud to present David Bottoms with the 2012 Alumni Award for Distinguished Writing. This award will be recognized not only by a gift from here, but also copies of his works, and his picture will be demonstrated in what is now a permanent exhibition place in the library for the annual recipient of this award. So now I call your attention to the video.
Professor and poet David Bottoms Jr. earned a doctorate in creative writing and American poetry from Florida State in 1982. He currently holds the Amos Distinguished Chair in English Letters at Georgia State University. Last year in Georgia, he received a Governor's Award in Humanities. 3 years ago, he was inducted into the Georgia Writers Hall of Fame, and for the past 12 years, he's served as the Poet Laureate for the Peach State. His poems have been lauded over the years for their vigorous narrative, their realistic scenes, and their mythical density, and he has been aptly described by poet Jane Hirschfield as, quote, quite simply one of the best poets writing today. Originally from Canton, Georgia, this Southern sensation arrived at Florida State in 1979, when he resigned a teaching position and accepted a graduate fellowship at FSU. The rest is poetic history. Bottoms' first book, Shooting Rats at the Bibb County Dump, was chosen by Robert Penn Warren from more than 1,300 submissions as the winner of the 1979 Walt Whitman Award of the Academy of American Poets. His poems have appeared widely in magazines such as The Atlantic, The New Yorker, Harper's Poetry, and the Paris Review. He's the author of 8 other books of poetry, including his latest, We Almost Disappear. Bottoms has been honored with numerous awards throughout his career, including the 1985 Levinson Prize and the 2002 Frederick Bach Prize, both from Poetry Magazine. Now he adds a garnet and gold distinction to his resume. Please congratulate David Bottoms Jr., the winner of the 2nd Annual Alumni Award for Distinguished Writing.
Thank you so much. I didn't bring any poems to read. Don't get so that's good. I just want to say just a couple of quick things, and I'm going to keep it short. This is really beautiful, by the way. Thank you, Friends of the Library and FSU. Very, very beautiful. I just want to start by expressing my really extreme gratitude to everybody affiliated with Florida State University. And not just for this alumni award, of which I'm really proud, no kidding, but for my entire life. And let me just explain what I mean by that. As Fred said, in the late 70s, I was teaching high school in the Douglas County, and I wasn't enjoying it very much, quite frankly. It was not a good position. And I've been publishing a few poems for several years in literary magazines, and some in some pretty good literary magazines. But the book I put together had been rejected by University Press. I was a little disheartened, in short. And then I got a call from an acquaintance of mine who taught at Vanderbilt University at the time. He's gone now. And he said that I should enter my manuscript in this Whitman Award contest from the Academy of American Poets. And I didn't know anything about that. He said, you need to enter this because the judge this year is Robert Penn Warren. He's a Southerner. And I thought, well, okay, it'd be cool if I could just get Robert Penn Warren to read my stuff. Wouldn't that be neat?
Well, about a year later, I got an amazing phone call, and Warren had chosen my manuscript. Everybody loves the title, Shooting Rats at Bibb County Dump. I guess he had done plenty of that in his life. And part of the prize that year was publication by a New York publisher, so I had a book coming out. And that was step one toward a new life. Step two was shortly after that, I got a call from Professor Van Brock of the English department at FSU. And Van wanted to know, might I be willing to come back to Florida State and work on a doctorate? And if I were willing to do that, he thought the university would give me a fellowship. Well, that was a no-brainer, you know. And there was really no decision to be made. And that was step two. And I'll just say this very briefly about my time at FSU. Those years were genuinely some of the best of my life. The faculty here, I don't know if you know the English faculty, but the faculty was just enormous. They were just fantastic. The students in the program were fantastic, very collegial and kind and generous. The faculty was generous with their time and dynamic in the classroom. Encouragement was just to be found everywhere. And I might also add this. A really truly great resource was the university library. I never had that kind of resource before, but the library was essential. The poetry collection, of course, was dynamite, but really the periodical section for me was amazing. It put me in touch with everything going on in American poetry at that time. So when I say that Florida State University made my life, this is not hyperbole. I mean that. After I finished my PhD at FSU, I landed a good job at Georgia State in Atlanta. I've been there 31 years. It just frightens me when I think of that. And in 1986, I received a call from the University of Montana inviting me to come up and be their second Richard Hugo Poet in Residence for a term. There I met my wife. We married 2 years later. 2 years after that, we had a beautiful daughter. She's now a junior, an English major at Emory. So really, Florida State made my life, and I'm so deeply grateful for that. I've continued to write over the years and churned out, around a dozen books, depending on how you count them. And all this I owe to Robert Penn Warren and Florida State University. Well, Mr. Warren is not around any longer to thank, but I do want to thank each of you good people. Florida State does amazing work all over the world, and I want to thank you sincerely for all you've done for me. Thank you.
Well, congratulations to each of our recipients this morning, and for all the students in the room this morning. Isn't it neat to see how the Florida State experience impacts our alumni in so many ways? It really is special. I want to take this opportunity to thank our corporate partners who are so important to what we do. And the cost of a breakfast like this goes way beyond the $15 ticket price, and so it's the generosity of companies like Liberty Mutual, Tallahassee Student Housing, and the FSU Bookstore, where I hope you're buying your game day gear, that make this a special day for us. Before Tommy Wright serenades us with the fight song, Tommy, you want to make your way to the piano, and I'll do this because we have another fight to talk about at Florida State University. It's a fight to make FSU stronger tomorrow than it is today. On the back of your programs, you'll notice right below the Be Proud, Stay Proud, which, by the way, is a call to join the Alumni Association if you're not a member. You can do that today. See me. You'll also see the words Advocate for Florida State. Now, this is a website where you can register to be an advocate for FSU if and when President Barron ever needs your voice to be heard on an issue of particular importance to FSU. It costs nothing. You will not be contacted unless we absolutely need you. We hope you'll go home this weekend to that website and register. And now we have a game to play. I never thought I'd be saying that I'm worried that Duke is going to give us a run for our money, but that could be the case today. They're playing pretty well. So I think we all need to lend our voices for Professor Tommy Wright to get us started with the fight song that he wrote 62 years ago. Professor and Dr. Tommy Wright, would you please introduce it for us? Well, we can't do any better than that. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your homecoming. Go Noles!